This is a walkthrough for some of the work done for a VR project commissioned by StoryLab Research. Dr. Shripali Patel, the director of StoryLab and Eyeline Films, created the Crossing project. The Crossing is a multi-screen and 2D screen interactive exhibition which provided new interpretations and understandings of the black market economy of sex trafficking through the journey of a trafficked woman. I was brought in to transfer the experience to the Oculus Quest. The environment was a black space where the user is surrounded by 20 screens, 4 large main screens and 16 smaller screens that between them played 10 different videos for a duration of 14 minutes. This was the first challenge since the Oculus Quest is not linked to a computer while playing, which means it offers great freedom, no cable and no setting up lighthouses, but it also means that you're trying to play 10 videos at the same time on a mobile device plus any other interaction. To achieve this, the videos were collaged together in Adobe Premiere, so only one video player was used in Unity. The material that displayed the video was applied to all 20 screens, and a script controlled the tiling position of each screen. Many tests were made to find the best ratio of quality versus performance, and I quickly realized that the Oculus would crash when the video size was greater than a gigabyte. A subtle feature was also implemented where if the user looks at a screen for longer than 3 seconds, the screen will slowly zoom in. When the user's gaze leaves the screen zooms out to its original position. For this I used raycasting and a set of conditions with coroutines. There are 2 events during the video to improve the interaction. At one point, while showing scenes of a park with autumn leaves blowing, a timer is set to activate a particle effect of dropping leaves. The other event is towards the end of the video, where the screen shatters and glass shards fly around. The same effect was also represented in 3D with a particle effect. There is an extra requirement asking for 6 glass shards to rotate around the player, and the player to be able to pick up those shards with a controller and read some text assigned to them. To keep a realistic feel, I wanted the shards to rotate around the player regardless of their head's position and angle, and also give a natural motion to the shards when the player changed position. To achieve this, I created a prototype to model the desired movement. I created a group of empty game objects. The parent of that group rotates around the player by a looped animation. I created then 6 shards outside the group. The shards execute 2 actions. The first is a rotation by animation, so the shard appears to be spinning. The second movement is done by code, where each shard gradually moves towards its assigned point. Since the assigned points are also moving, the shards then follow that movement. By combining all 3 types of motion, the shard's rotation, its movement towards its assigned point, and the rotation of that point, we keep the level of realism high. Later on, the group of points were set as children to the tracking space. An issue occurred when I noticed that the controllers would not grab the shard if it had an animation playing. So I added to each shard an additional collider slightly bigger than the grab collider of the shard. When that collider was triggered, the animation and the movement would stop, and when the controller exited that area, the animation and movement would be activated again. This proved to be a nice feature as it made it easier for non-experienced users to immobilize shards before grabbing them, rather than having to timely reach out and press the trigger to grab a moving piece. The last issue was the shard was not always easily readable due to its rotation when grabbed. For this in late update, if the shard was grabbed, I set it to look directly at the camera. Finally, the lerping movement already implemented by script meant that after the user had read the shard, he could simply leave it in any position and it would naturally rotate and move to reach its assigned position. I will leave you with a small playthrough, and I recommend you watch the original video as the story is compelling and an eye-opener. I will leave you links to StoryLab and the video in the description. Thank you for watching this video.
I came from a little village where my parents and my brothers and sisters still live. They probably think I am dead, and I hope so. It is easier than the truth. I have done things they never can imagine. I shall never see them again. This time, however, my father had gone out, so we talked a little. Later, I wondered if he had been watching the shop and knew my father wasn't there. He seemed to understand me when my family didn't. He asked about my dreams. I told him I wanted to go to London. He told me about the famous cities that he often visited: Rome, Paris, Madrid, and many others. I said how much I wanted to see them. The young man told me that he works for an agency that looks for girls like me to be models or assistants. All I could think of was to earn money and finally make my father proud. He told me that he bought clothes, just them, wine, bottle. He laughed at us and forced me to do things, help me. But I was frightened. But I found a telephone. Now I work for this charity and help girls like me. I talk to them every day and I tell them they must make a new life. They weep very much. I also weep, but wait until night time so they don't see. We all want to go home, but we cannot. The shame for our parents and us is too large. I am still a hostage. My body is still separate from my soul.
According to the International Labour Organization, there are almost 21 million victims of human trafficking around the world. Over 5.5 million of these victims are children. The UN's most recent report stated that almost 80% of detected trafficking victims were abused as sexual slaves. Victims are often trafficked within their own country, but many are taken from poorer countries to more affluent places in Northern America, Europe, and the Middle East. Traffickers use deceptive recruitment methods such as the lover boy technique, whereby vulnerable girls are approached and befriended by a man who acts just like their boyfriend, gaining their trust by giving them attention, affection, or gifts. The lover boy asks the girl to